The reason I'm removing this, guys, is because this is where all the oil collects. I don't know what the official name for this part is, but I'm going to call it oil catch can, but it's more like an oil catch filter. So when turbo is sucking air from the, from the air box and stuff, this is kind of connected too, so there's a lot of sucking going on. So this allows the engine to breathe, but as it breathes, there's a lot of oil circulating, especially next to the chain, some splashing going on. So I wouldn't be surprised if you have a very few miles and then this oil catch filter gets a bunch of oil on it, and that actually causes all the oil to then go inside of your air hoses, make it to the turbo intercooler, and then make it to your intake. And with the older Sprinters, that's not an issue. The diesels, they don't mind oil so much, but if you're having like a particulate filter, a DEF, where you need a special type of diesel and you have to be really watching out for it, then this becomes extremely important, because you can make your particulate filter extremely dirty. This also will cause your EGR to be dirty, because all the oil, especially where the EGR is, so it's gonna have soot, it's gonna have oil, and it's gonna have a lot of buildup. So I'm going to see if this is possible to, maybe clean this, even with diesel, and then clean it with brake cleaner. I think oven cleaner would probably work on this, right? 100%. Do you have any oven cleaner?
I don't, yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Do you have any brake cleaner?
I don't have anything.
We might be able to use some gas to clean it. Anyways, guys, I'm removing this so that we could see if we could actually clean it. I think brake cleaner would be ideal, but I think it could be cleaned with gas or diesel. If you clean it with gas, then I think final procedure would be clean it with some brake cleaner to dry it out. So seems like it has a good seal. So apparently there's no outside hole, and it just basically breathes through this little hole here. So from what it looks like, can't really see any filter on the inside. So there's possibly nothing really filtering it.
No. Nothing.
Surprised, they make such a big piece to do a whole lot of nothing.
It's hollow in there.
Yes, it's just a spring, so it doesn't even make sense to take apart. I mean, unless it would be some sponge that's riding around over here. But as you could see, it's got a
chamber,
this type of chamber. What does it look like? A snail?
Yeah.
So it goes like that, and then it exits out through here. So this would not be possible to clean.
I wonder what's on the very top.
In the very top,
not much.
I mean, if you look at it,
Yeah.
we are seeing at the very top. Even if there was anything here, it wouldn't be really doing a whole lot of nothing, because it just goes from the top there.
That's crazy. That's almost like a useless overkill device.
It is.
Never thought.
Well, it's they could have done
A very simple hose coming out and
yeah, just a very simple hose, and then maybe put it somewhere with maybe a little catch can on it or something. But
it's a very elaborate setup for that, for a breathing apparatus. That's all it is.
It is.
It's total overkill. It's amazing because so much oil comes out of that.
Yeah.
It is clean.
Yeah, definitely. It looks very clean in that area. It's like not oily at all. I'm actually very surprised.
So am I.
It's not the same way in the 2004. And it's a different piece.
Huh.
And the one on the 2004, you could actually clean that one.
Now we know.
This one, not so much. And based on what I've seen, shoot, it doesn't even have a filter in it.
No.
So
there's so much oil coming out in the EGR area.
Definitely, that's why we're seeing all that oil.
Yeah.
So there's nothing really stopping it.
I'm gonna put my finger in that hole. See how much oil comes out of that hole. Residue.
Well, it's I think it's not so much as when the engine's on, like, you know, idling. You know, it's like over time, as you're working it, you know, it's gonna make its way into the intake manifold. I mean, excuse me, yeah, like right here. But it pretty much first just with the gravity of the situation, it's gonna start falling down into that air hose. Make it inside of the intercooler. And the one thing is, intercooler is not gonna rust anytime soon.
Nah.
It is a stainless steel metal or you know, or whatever.
Huh. So I bet it sounds like because so much air PSI is coming out of the engine, blowing it. So when the engine's on, it's pushing the oil particles.
Yes.
And it's getting caught in the turbo. It's even more so. I think what's happening is going through the intercooler. Once it gets to the intercooler on the other side, it's more of a pool.
Yes. So this kind of sucks it here.
Yeah. It kind of sits.
And this kind of, you know, like pushes all the air in.
Yep. And it kind of coagulates right there.
Yeah.
So I think it'd be good, just maybe every couple months or every month, just pop that clamp off and just wipe it down. Yeah. So there's puddles up right there.
Yeah, I mean, it's won't hurt a single thing, and it's easy.
And just pop that clamp and done. That'd be a good habit.
So, you know, I think it would be a good idea to find maybe like an aftermarket solution or maybe like even a cheap solution. Hose coming out of here with some kind of small catch can. Where, you know, it just goes, you know, sort of like,
I can make them.
It would probably need to look engineered inside, similar to like what a muffler looks like.
Sure.
Where it has a channel where it goes down and it kind of stays there, and then sort of like, well, kind of like a plumbing, you know, like that little thing.
Totally, the catch.
Yeah, so it catches some stuff at the bottom, and then maybe have like a screw on it or something. You could just like leak it out.
Yep, I can unscrew it like a valve, bleeder valve.
Yeah, like a bleeder valve.
At the very bottom of like, like a little U. At the bottom of the U. I can make that, it's easy.
And shoot, like you could even take it, you know, technically you can take just some basic plumbing, like regular, like PVC stuff.
Oh, easy.
Plumb it in. And then just use like a different hose and use clamps on that little plumbing thing. Shoot, I bet I would work.
It's just a matter of the heat, how much heat comes out of that engine with the PVC.
Well, this is protected somewhat, you know, maybe sliding a little sponge on it. On the PVC pipe. Probably it would help.
You're not gonna melt that PVC.
Probably not. I've seen people use it as exhaust pipe for their generators. Not a really reliable system because it vibrates itself loose, but
it'll get you through.
Yeah.
All right.
So we're good here.
Question for you: how long do these water pumps last?
The water pump?
Yeah.
They last up until the point where they start leaking, which is, I know it's obvious, but
once it starts leaking, that's
but here's what I found. When it starts leaking, it's usually just a seal.
Yeah.
I haven't had a water pump that it leaked where like it should be, you know, like when a water pump fails, it fails at that thing where it's like spinning and then maybe like rusts through, and then before you know it, it comes out between the spinning thing. It's just somewhere over here. That's not the failure I had. And it's mainly just fails at the seal. So I think if you just you know, if you're starting to see water driplets, which I did, I would, you know, I would see it, let's say like it's really noticeable like when it's really cold, because when cold, metal shrinks, hot metal expands. So as the engine is hot, you're not seeing any drips. But then here's what I noticed: I would park it in a parking lot, let's say like somewhere in Michigan, Engine had time to cool. You know, I come out of the restaurant, yeah, and then I started up. But I happen to like always get outside and I'm doing a walk around. I'm like, what? I got some drips going on. Where's that coming from? What is that? So it's like I noticed it's a radiator fluid, but I decided to just replace the water pump because I thought, you know, it's bad because it's a typical situation. But upon further inspection, before I even removed it, I try everything. I'm like, it's leaking at the seal. I probably could have just tightened up the bolts and it would have been sufficient.
Yeah.
I think they just got loose over time. That's why it's not leaking when the engine's hot. It's enough for it to expand.
Right.
Keep it from leaking.
Well, it's good to hear that these pumps, the actual pump and the veins in the pump stay intact.
They last.
That's good. That's good to hear, man.
Yeah.
Hot dog.
Yeah.
Okay, what's next? You want to try that resistor and see if the check
Yes.
light comes on?
Yeah.
And we'll pull it down and we'll let it warm up and then we'll drain it and do it a couple times.
Of course.
You'll drive it and go look underneath it and
Sure.
make sure we're dry underneath and everything.
Yeah, that sounds good. I'm gonna put this away.
I'm surprised by this. It's just
I'm surprised too.
I don't understand, like these two different chambers, how they're. You saw how it's kind of notched like a gear.
Yes.
Like why? Why is that? What were they thinking?
Somebody had fun engineering it.
I mean, literally, all they had to do was basically run this, some kind of capping device.
Yes.
Straight in here, get rid of all this elaborate nonsense.
Well, it looks good.
It looks pretty good.
It would have been okay, but this is not the only thing.
No.
There's some other components. One thing I'm going to point out to some of you guys is, surprising fact is this 2003 does not come with a resonator. There's not one that's coming from the turbo. It's just a straight pipe. So the fix that we have with the metal one for the 2004, basically it's the same thing. You just get a metal type of a situation where you just plug that hose into. Because the hose is a little bit shorter, bent a little different, but the turbo's in the same place. You could probably use the same hose from a 2002. You don't have to buy the metal one. Probably. Like now, if I'm gonna find a 2002 hose, I'm gonna actually test fit it on one of my sprinters and see if that's actually gonna work.
So I wonder why they didn't put any resonator on this.
The only thing is, I'm wondering is I could see it's a different type of system, like a clamp system. So it does have a clamp on the turbo, which probably serves as a short resonator piece, but it's not a resonator, but it's in the place of the resonator, so that actually can clamp onto the turbo. And it's a different turbo fitment. So chances are this pipe will be the same length, but it's not going to be a direct fit because there's nothing to fit around to it, because the turbo, it's like something needs to go in, and as you can see, that pipe is they slid it onto something. So there's a little extension piece that goes into a turbo. But I'm kind of thinking, look, if you get that little extension piece from a 2002, 2003, and that turbo hose, you're golden.
Less is more.
Less is more, yeah. And then it's like you don't have to worry about that leak, because I actually I have all the technician type of manuals for these things, what the actual shops go through, like with the diagnostics. And I read on there, and this is just kind of like in my own words, but basically, if there's like a boost leak and this and that, they're like, look here, it's like they're letting the shop know, like that's where the leak is, and then the turbo resonator, it comes apart at the seams. It's like they engineered it to fail, and it's like right there, and it looks black and it looks pretty. You look down on it like, okay, like what can it be like if you're like fresh to it? But that's actually where it fails, and nobody knows it except the dealer. And then,
well, when I watched the videos before I saw the resonator, and I couldn't figure out what was the purpose of that resonator. Like, why is it? It's just
makes it quieter. It's like a muffler inside.
Oh, really?
Yes, okay. Makes the turbo quieter. But man, it's not loud to begin with. If you remove it, you're not going to see the difference.
And speaking of which, I did notice with the cover off the top, the engine was louder coming here, a little louder than usual. Oh yeah, it is. It is. Did you just recently remove it? I just took it off, so it'd be less for you to deal with. And that way you can just keep it out. You can just watch it. You can see it quicker.
As a matter of fact, I bought a brand new engine from the dealer, which was remanufactured, and it looked brand spanking new, like it was so good.
Yeah.
And they had this plastic cap on here, and can you believe it, that engine, first of all, it came from Germany, but I just had it like, you know, like less than like a year, and all the bolts have rusted out on it. They just like rusted. Yeah. They looked so bad. I'm thinking like, couldn't they use like good bolts, because it was actually, they were like super rusted.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So speaking of Germany, so is this whole thing, this is a true German
imported? It is.
Yeah.
It is. Just imported in pieces.
Yeah, in pieces.
As a matter of fact,
did they assemble this here in the States?
Yes.
It's assembled here in the States?
It is. It's assembled in Charleston, South Carolina.
I thought, for some reason, I was in the impression that the Charleston plant didn't start till like 07 when they started assembling.
No, it was always there.
It was always there.
It was always there.
Okay.
They probably named it differently.
Okay.
It's like because it was Daimler Chrysler, and I think now Mercedes controls it.
So it was assembled in Charleston, but it's two German parts.
You know, fun fact. These Sprinters, they come with windows.
Yeah.
And they remove all windows.
Yeah, yeah.
And they put these metal sheeting. Did you know that?
I didn't know that.
That's what they do.
Yeah.
So you see how it's a rough type of texture here?
Yep.
And actually they did a really good job with these 2002s. And maybe in 2002 or 3, because this is done so well, you can't really tell nothing. Yeah. Unless somebody really took their time and sanded it down.
You can tell a different texture at the right light angle.
Yes.
You can see a different
I mean, I see it.
Yeah, you can feel
but
it.
it's more apparent on 2004s through 2006. But what they do essentially is they install this metal piece once they remove the windows, and then they put that glue on it. So technically, if you like, I haven't tried, I'm gonna try it at one point.
Pop one out.
Yeah, because I have spare Sprinters just for fun. I'm just gonna use a heat gun, really heat this area up, cool, clean it up. I'm thinking you could really, you know, if that's true, you could remove these paneling without cutting nothing. Yeah, like, and then install windows.
Yeah, that'd be a good video for you.
Yes.
Because for the van life people,
yeah,
the campers.
Yeah.
I've seen, you know, different people making these vans from a cargo, and they're sitting there with the Sawzall, just going crazy.
Yes.
So I bet if you put down there, you could get a
just with a heat gun.
Yeah, man.
Heat gun and some kind of pry tool, and you know, a little bit of cleaning. I mean, you might make a little mess, but be careful. If somebody's like, you know, like a watchmaker, and they're like a jeweler, like they could probably do this so smoothly, so nicely. If you really come in there with like, you know, just like banging away. Oh yeah, I'm sure you can.
My name is Serge Zimaleta. I'm 37 years old, and yes, I experienced success after buying my first home for cash. Back in 2011, I was broke, but I learned to solve problems on my own. Now I'm helping others to solve their problems. I know what pitfalls to avoid to stay profitable in business. Need motivation to be more successful in your life? Do you have Sprinter expedite or business problems? Then subscribe. Let's find creative solutions to your problems. Hit the bell notification so you don't miss any of my helpful videos.